picks at the moment. So I think it'll be an interesting one. I think the draft's going to be a big deal.
Yeah, and while we were looking at sort of can be exploited in the early game, and depending on G2's form, that's where they can really thrive and find ways to attack early.
I think the fact that there's so much on the line, the winner of this game is guaranteed playoffs. That is huge. I think it would be a big surprise for SK, and I think it would be a minimum accepted step for G2. Let's turn our attention to the draft. Caitlyn has been a dominant force. 3 games out of 4 first pick. The other game was banned. Maybe Endo, what direction do you anticipate the draft going with G2 being on the blue side?
Well, I think we're looking at Caitlyn, or in G2 fashion, we're looking at stuff like the Syndra, can be very powerful. Jankos loves to gravitate towards the Volibear as well. So pretty common, first picks that we have our eyes on. Senna can also be thrown into that group 2 for G2.
Wow, blind Yuumi ban. Okay, well that's pretty interesting because this suggests that if you remove the Yuumi, then it makes Twitch and Ezreal that much weaker, and I think that both of those are big picks for Crown Shot. This means that G2 don't have to ban those champions, and instead they're just going to keep banning away a lot of these range support. If they ban Morgana, then perhaps they actually just leave the Caitlyn open.
Look, you say range support, I say anti-fun champions down on the bot side,
fair.
so they're trying to remove that, because those are the 2 champions that, paired with Ezreal, absolutely deadly. In the bot side, we know how much Crown Shot does love that Ezreal.
The set ban, very targeted towards Trick as well, something that he is often defaulted to. So G2 kind of targeted. Of course, the Karma is a little bit interesting, but very flexible, depending on what G2 want to prioritize.
I mean, that set is the only champion that Trick has played more than twice. 5 games played this summer, and then 2-2-2, 1-1-1 for a multitude of other champions. And the final ban from SK is going to be the LeBlanc, so that Caitlyn is still open and available, and it has been
No, it's the Syndra!
Yep.
Trevor, Caps' LeBlanc has been so deadly, but
Get
now
his win
all of a
rate,
sudden...
quick shot. This is your stat. You gotta check it, because I tell you now, it's very impressive.
It is. Do you want to know how many games he's played this summer?
Tell me.
1. Do you want to know what the win rate is?
I know it's 100%.
100%. What I will do is I'll look at his historical stats, which I don't have ready yet, so don't throw me in the deep end.
I believe it's 17-3. I believe, but we'll have to wait and see. Caitlyn going to be locked in. Morgana is still up and available. I wonder if they'll look to blind pick that. Oh wait, Senna's up and available, so G2 actually have an answer to it as well.
I also don't think, even if you wanted to run Morgana, you wouldn't have to pick it up here. I think it would be pretty unlikely that Mickey would try to steal that Morgana away. We see it as very common pairing down the bot side, but Thresh, I really like next to that Caitlyn. Again, the chain CC with the traps, it gives you more options in and out with the Lantern as well. And it also removes one of the big pairings if the Syndra were to be pushed into bot lane. Syndra Thresh, Syndra Nautilus is what you're looking at.
If I include, by the way, every single Syndra game, not just at a local level, 30 games played with a 76% win ratio for Caps on Syndra and a measly 5 KDA across those 30 games. I use the term sarcastically, of course. And, of course, now the Jhin counter into Caitlyn, another unique support pair alongside. It's going to be the Nautilus this time around.
I've seen quite a few people upset about this Jhin pick into Caitlyn on social media. I think there's a lot of interesting debate and controversy around it, but it seems to me that pros in Europe right now clearly favor the Jhin over the Ashe. We are not Ashe players over here, especially relative to the LPL. And we've also got some crowd control coming in for the side of G2 Esports. So I would say this is a very strong 2 versus 2 lane, for sure.
Yeah, I think when you're looking at the debate between Jhin and Ashe, Ashe is going to give you more control over the wave. Her volley gives you a ton of value within that, but I think Jhin gives you stronger trades. Auto Q, 4th shot combined with Nautilus going in. That's going to make your 2 versus 2 a lot stronger down there in that side. And also, Jhin W gives that immediate lock-in value for the chain CC. Of course, if Jankos visits bot side, he has a lot of lanes he can gank for. Both bot lane and mid lane looking very juicy already.
What champions are we going to see coming out of the jungle? Not a heavy priority on bans, the Set and the Volibear. Then you're seeing top lane bans thus far, and the Camille and the Renekton. The number of options still there. The Set one is still open.
I was going to say, what rhymes with Arnie?
I'm just wondering if they steal that away on Trick's behalf, because we know Grabs will want to put Jankos on it.
Yeah, I mean, the other champion that both junglers have sort of liked is the Kha'Zix. Now, I don't feel like Kha'Zix is a great fit here for SK, even though, we've seen a lot of people like to pair it with the Orianna. Whether or not they combo the ult with the leap is up for debate, but I think Kha'Zix can struggle into a Syndra for disengage or burst damage. Is going to be very difficult, so I wouldn't be eyeing that personally.
I think G2 right now is considering, well, with the Mordekaiser ban, my instincts kind of suggest Wukong. Oh, you're thinking Ornn as well?
I was thinking Ornn.
Oh, yes!
Surely they're locking Lee Sin here. Surely.
Yeah, I mean, I like Lee Sin here for Jankos. Of course, you can try to get aggressive early, especially like when you're seeing Syndra in mid lane. The way you attack Fiddlesticks is early. Pre-level 6, get into his jungle, fight him. Even if he doesn't take the fights against you, you can steal away camps and deny him a lot in that. So assuming the Syndra can get priority through the middle lane, that opens Jankos up to take a more aggressive jungler here to frag out against Fiddle.
Cho'Gath is really interesting. Obviously, they had to pick something blind, but I guess maybe they're thinking of the silence? Perhaps the silence from the Cho, or maybe the knock-up to interrupt the Fiddle from over the walls. I wonder if the Cho is even in mind with the Fiddle lock-in, or whether that was something that they just wanted to add to the comp as an additional front.
I think they're looking at that's like, what can we sort of take in top lane that's a safer blind play, I guess, when you've removed
because like Ornn would be my default blind.
Yeah, I would be looking at Ornn, but wonder, of course, it's probably going to be that AP Cho'Gath, which gives Glacial Augment. You have multiple long-range engaged slows, too, that really help you search out fights, find out enemy champions. And if this Sylas gets locked in, I love this as a counter pick into the Cho'Gath. You can steal away the ultimate stack.
That's why we don't talk about hovers,
but I love it as a counter into the Cho'Gath.
Well, unlucky. Instead, we're going to be seeing Sion. Tank top lane matchup. I think that Sion can get priority over the Cho'Gath in the early levels. What I am concerned about, Quickshot, is that Syndra Lee Sin, very potent 2v2 lanes. Whenever I play with Ender and whenever we're playing Fiddlesticks, he likes me on Nocturne because it's easy for me to get push and collapse. And he's like, if I'm getting invaded on, I can protect him. But I feel like the Orion is just going to get pushed in by this Syndra in mid.
Well, the question is then, how else do SK manage to get this team composition into the later stages of the game? I see a lot of risky options early on here against G2. We've seen them playing early comps in recent weeks.
Look, I think it's less about getting the whole team into the late game, and it's just about getting Trick to level 6. Once level 6 comes online, you can look to fight around lanes with CC to set up for you. You can look to fight around dragons. That's going to be the bread and butter for SK today.
Oh, I love the fact that we get to see Jankos on that Lee Sin as well. It's G2 taking on SK. Welcome, ladies, gentlemen, and everyone else to Summoner's Rift. Let the game begin. The winner is guaranteed a spot in playoffs. SK Gaming have already grouped themselves up in the bottom lane, and they will be setting themselves up for a potential, but they're going to back out. Nobody's going to step forward here from G2, and I definitely want to see how this Cho'Gath will perform in the latest
Yes,
stages.
I love you bringing it up. I want to check back in on the Cho'Gath, because in draft you're saying, hey, a lot of what we've seen recently is the AP Cho'Gath, but with Wonder rocking Grasp the Undying, that hints to me it's going to be Tank Cho'Gath, which I think can work too. And another thing you were mentioning, Vedius, was how Cho'Gath can function into the Fiddlesticks in these team fights, because he has so many great ways of disrupting Fiddlesticks' drain. Now, he can't counter the Fiddlesticks' ultimate, but with both the silence and the knockup, it means that Fiddle's, intrinsic value of being super disruptive and, sustaining through fights is going to be greatly diminished. And when you combine a Syndra plus a Cho'Gath feast, you can instantly destroy the front line. And until Trick gets Azonias, that's going to be tough to deal with.
This is an interesting play, the delayed invade from G2. We expected early invades up against the Fiddlesticks, but it looks like we now have the bot lane fight.
Dredge line comes out, built over Peacemaker. Now Perks and Mickey are
Pretty
taking
bad.
a lot of its damage. The exhaust will slow things down. Mickey below 100. First blood picked up and on crown shots, Caitlyn. Jankos is going to be able to put a lot of damage onto Trick, but with no resonating strike to be able to
Jankos is
follow
dead.
up. Now that's a flash over the wall. Gets past the effigy for now. Jankos hops over with a safeguard, and it's actually SK that punished the invade from G2.
That's so strange there, because G2 were super split up. They basically said bot lane take the 2v2 and jungle take the 1v1. But Perks and Mickey are going to lose that fight at level 1. Jin cannot go for the extended trades, as you can see here, especially because he doesn't get the 4th shot off. Now, at the same time, Jankos was able to steal away the wolves. At least, I think a big one and a small one is going to give you level 2. So he got half the camp, and Trick only got the small one. So he still won out in the trade. But he lost the flank. I don't think that's worth it.
Yeah, I would say that this bot lane is like giga doomed. I believe the technical term is for G2's bot lane right now.
I think I read that in a research support somewhere.
Exactly. The fact that they went for that 2v2, I think that there's a world in which they could maybe win it, but you're down against a heal. Maybe if you use Ignite, but then you're also playing against an Exhaust, but then the Cleanse, like...
Yeah.
I think the reality is the position that G2 was in when they started the fight never set them up for success. And we'll be able to get back and watch it,
But I wonder, like, it looks like Mickey is going in. Jankos does not get the memo. So if Jankos comes with them, maybe they can push for this fight, and Fiddle isn't going to be able to instantly tick over to 2. I feel like if Jankos had just said, no, instead of going for the jungle steal, we turn around on this would have actually been very favorable for G2.
I guess Jankos' argument here is that if I kill Trick, I win the bot lane matchup by default, because then I can come back and look for a gank by having a level advantage, and Trick is very far behind, and bot lane you can just kind of, suck it up.
Look, Benny, you don't have to convince me. I'm a jungler. I'm like, I'm taking the camp every time, but his team's not thrilled.
When we zoom out, first blood to SK, 600 gold up, and importantly landed in Crown Shot's pocket. He's not yet been to back, but that's just going to speed up his first itemization, and that is a terrifying prospect against a champion like the Caitlyn. But SK going to be pretty content with that. The crab has just been picked up there by Trick. And as expected, middle lane is just being shoved in. Red line connects. That's beautiful. 90 caliber net backwards. Perks is looking for the crit. The death sentence from Limit buys just enough time to keep Crown Shot alive. He's now flashed defensively. The Riptide will slow them down. A boop onto the head, but not enough for the deadly flourish. And Mickey with the dredge line. Every skill shot landed from G2, except the ones that SK dodged.
All right, so if we're using technical terms, I believe what Mickey did there was the Giga Smurf. He landed such a beautiful hook onto
Turbo
Crown Shots. Like, oh, my apologies,
Yes.
you're correctly
Yeah.
right. Like, the execution on that was flawless, and now Jankos is not slowing down this aggression as he has his eyes on Trick's red buff.
Okay, now Sonic Wave will connect there. Smite comes out. Trick will have support from Limit, but here comes Caps. No ultimate available. Trick was able to get that one. That's a push back, at least onto Zazie for now. And now all of a sudden, Jankos needs to dash to the ward for safety. The rupture from Wonder buys enough time. In and out, doesn't get the objective, and second time the invade doesn't quite go as
So Jankos got the big raptor, but I would have preferred to see him hold on to a smite and try to combo that down with the red buff. That's going to be the ideal trade. But you can see the theory of how you're supposed to play against the Fiddlesticks. Can they find it? Not going to try it out there. But Trick, going through the jungle, on pretty much every camp as Fiddle, you're trying to clear 2 camps at once, because ever since the rework, his W is going to be AoE, is going to hit everything in that circle around him, so he can clear through the most effective ways by doing multiple camps at the same time. Jankos recognizes that and tries to go for the invade, and everything, the theory is working, where Caps has the pressure as well, but I think SK did a good job of collapsing and trying to punish him on the way out.
Yeah, the roam from Limit only being level 2, I think, was a good read from SK, and they've been able to slow down the aggression from Jankos. Trick, considering he had to base, I believe, at level 1 because he lost that first camp. The fact that he's been able to come back is pretty impressive. Now we'll see, how well he does as we approach the level 6 mark. Of course, still a bit of ways from that, and SK is going to have to give up some of these early objectives, but right now, considering the comp that G2 have, SK should feel pretty happy with how the early game has gone.
Yeah, not too far behind, 600 gold. Big CS disparity in the top lane. I can't quite see what the minion wave looks like for the time being, but 20 CS difference.
Wow.
And there's a lot in front here of Genax, but not enough to make up that deficit. Small advantage for Caps in the mid lane, and obviously small advantage thus far for Perks in the bottom lane as Jankos is sniffing around. And I mean, early game plays, G2 very proactive, very invade heavy, as once again Jankos is stepping forward.
I love this. Jankos is playing off the priority of his lanes to look for the invade. Now, one thing to keep in mind, Trick is running Unsealed Spellbook, so he swapped over his smite to a heal for any, so, get him some defensive stats as well. He's probably also running Nimbus Cloak, so whenever he swaps over these things, he can be hyper mobile by popping a summoner spell, and it doesn't look like Jankos wants to continue full invade. He's been a little bit unlucky a couple times in a row now, and because of basically how the terrain works around bot side, it's so much easier for red side to collapse.
Oh, Death Sentence on the Perks instantly cleansed away. Didn't want to take any further damage. By the way, BFs were picked up by Crown Shot on their last back versus the pickaxe on the side of Perks. Level 5 for Trick. Crowstorm is not available just yet, Medius.
No, but I think in this situation, Trick is just hovering to make sure that his bot lane is nice and safe. Meanwhile, we've been talking a lot about the bot lane. If we have a look at mid lane, Caps has been able to build up a pretty sizable lead, and what we expected was that Syndra would be able to use her strong early prio against an Orianna to set up invades with Jankos, and while we did see that on the red buff, it actually hasn't resulted in that much else. So props to Zazi to be able to hold his own. Like, of course, he is still at this deficit, but Orianna's value becomes much later. The fact that you get magic resistance on the shield, the fact that you have a shield to mitigate some of the burst later on into the game. So yeah, again, I think the SK is in a comfortable position right now.
Yeah, they've just been sort of keeping to themselves. I will say there's like weird fallout because of how hectic the early game was around the jungle invade, is that our junglers very behind the time more often than normal because they're both still level 5. Solo lanes are taking over to level 8 now, caps hit, so junglers being the same level as bot lane at 8 minutes into the game is kind of ridiculous, and this is going to benefit G2 more than an SK. Of course, Trick is really hoping to get over towards level 6, and because it hasn't come through yet, even with an effigy over on the Rift Herald, Jankos is very free to take whatever he wants in the river.
And he's tried to play that way the entire game. Caps, by the way, has been chunking out Zazi. Every time we've looked at this mid lane, Caps is pushing forward, comboing things down onto Zazi. His LEC win rate on this champion is 16 wins and 3 losses. It is exceptionally impressive. He's built himself up a 20 CS advantage already. Zazi has no teleport available, so can't back away even if he wanted to.
Oh, they want to dive this.
May be able to do it. Won't be in range for the unleashed power of Vedius. And looks as though Jankos is going to be moving in from the side.
Yeah, Caps was just trying to chunk out. He's holding onto his ultimate, so Jankos is here, but Trick can ulti over this wall.
Here it comes.
Down, and there's the Crowstorm flash forward. Shockwave whiffs from Zazi as the Rift Herald still gets the boop on the mid lane. There was a flash out of Caps, but it traded for flash and Crowstorm from Trick.
So, quick reactions there from G2, because I'll tell you now, I would have been hit by that Crowstorm. I would have been hit by that combo immediately because I think that Trick read the play well and his ultimate was good, but because the fear didn't come through, Zazi's Shockwave wasn't able to connect, which then meant that Caps and Jankos could back out of that, and I think the only way they could do that was because of their insane reaction time.
The thing is, with Fiddlesticks, the passive fear, not the actual Q itself, is all that is one has to flash away from underneath the turret, is you have a very brief window coming out of the Fog of War to deal damage for the passive fear to come through. So Trick was off on that. He was reading that G2 were going to go super ham for the dive, and because Jankos didn't fully commit in there, it was a pretty easy reaction, I feel like, for G2 to get away from that.
And what a huge amount of breathing room, knowing that both Flash and Crowstorm were down on the side of G2. Jankos was the first one to make that play. They're currently 1,500 gold up. Yes, they are down a couple of flashes, but knowing that they don't have Trick hopping over the wall to instantly fear them and potentially kill them is definitely some good of advantage.
Yeah, I feel like G2, great position at the moment, especially 1 minute out from this Ocean Drake spawning. If you look at and just compare jungle itemization purely, Jankos, Red Smite with the finished Warrior Trick, no ultimate, again, just got back onto the map. He doesn't have his finished item either, and that's a massive spike for mage junglers as well. So G2 will almost certainly get this next dragon uncontested. The only thing they have to worry about is that Gen X will have TP very, very shortly, and Wonder won't be able to respond to that.
Wonder, by the way, has picked up that Sunfire cape, and obviously with the discussion we had both from draft and then very early game, moving more towards that tanky option. Ender, do you see as the death sentence connects on Perth, cleanse instant again? Looks like he's trying to bait it. Flash forward. That Dredger hit the wall, didn't it? That was a face plant of note. The box comes down from the limit as the curtain is called back, and Perks forced to retreat now. Teleport coming out here. That looks like a Gen X TP. It's Trick, in fact, with the spell book. And now Caps is going to walk away. So, some fun times in the bottom lane, and nobody goes down.
And that was your perfect opportunity to use a kick W on me. That was like, that was your moment, right there, right next to his face, bottom left. Bottom left, there you go.
Got it, thank you.
This means that SK is going to be able to get themselves the Ocean Drake, and a lot of that just comes off the fact that Limit lands a good hook. That forces the cleanse, that leads to these series of events happening in the bot lane, which then immediately concedes all this pressure. And when we look at the state for SK, the expectations are G2 should have control over the early game, they have all these pushing lanes, they get to be super proactive, so any objective that SK can get is a win for them.
I mean, just look at this. Wonder was between the top lane, has rotated down. Zazi under so much pressure, even with his ultimate up, like, he's got virtually no mana and has to be concerned about any potential dive. So that one window, because SK were able to dodge away, or the wall helped them dodge away from Mickey's hook there, now they've actually put themselves in a decent spot.
Is there a timing window that G2 need to respect here in terms of compositions, in terms of timing? Ender, I can see you shaking your head a little bit as we contemplate the question, but it feels to me as though that sense of urgency is being built up.
Yeah, so I think SK do have some really solid scaling options here too. Like Fiddlesticks is one of the strongest scaling junglers in the game. Pretty much most mage junglers are going to fit into that camp, but Fiddle offers so much value inside of a team fight if he can get a big ultimate off that you have to respect that. On top of that, Scion going to be scaling infinitely with the passive he gains off his base abilities, so he's going to be a really chunky boy later on into the game who can just offer a lot of zone control and threat by ulting in with the Fiddlesticks ult. You have these things you can layer up and really put down the hurt with.
This is also conventionally what you see from SK when they play, not the mage jungle part, but where you have a traditional mage mid, you have a kind of hyper-scaling AD carry, and then you kind of just have a front line that plays around them, and then when they look to teamfight you, and usually when they get their big gold advantages, it's around like 18 minutes when the third Drake spawns, and that's usually when they look to really force these fights. So the fact that SK have come out with, you know, a relatively low gold deficit for now is pretty solid. Here comes the ult from Fiddle.
And there's the call with an ace in the hole and a death sentence to boot. Crown Shot takes out Perks. His second kill of the game, and that goal lead, only 1,000, is pretty good for SK.
That was a really nice move right there, and I want to see Trick and Limit moving around the map together more, because that's almost a picture-perfect roam. They push out mid, they've been able to sweep through the entire jungle, because now that Trick has ticked past 6, his FG is also going to function as sweepers, so very easy to remove vision from G2. Still have to worry about the dive, though.
They do indeed. Yanko's coming around the flank, held onto the Q, so didn't chase Zazi out. No tower has fallen yet, and we're still 2.5 minutes away from the next Drake. But also Perks lost his flash in that engage in the bottom lane. So if SK wanted to look to rinse and repeat it, they could. Things are starting to get a little more tense, but G2 will push in this mid wave, get some damage. It looks like the tower will just about fall. And Mickey's going to use the Hex flash forward just to threaten and engage Vedius. But at the end of the day, first tower goes to G2, and they still maintain control of the game.
So yeah, we're hitting 15 minutes. We're going to get a replay of this play. And I think that the fact that Limit was able to get in behind, they then use the Lantern to drag Trick over the wall, and then they have the Blast Cone there as well. Like, the execution was just so well done by SK. Perks, I mean, he should have recognized the bot side of the map. He didn't have any vision control. This was a very dangerous position for him to be in, and of course, he ends up getting punished for it. So, well played there by SK, and crucially, Crown Shot gets the kill. Now, any SK fan will tell you, if Crown Shot has kills, they're feeling good, you know? Like, it doesn't matter what he's on. He's sitting at 2-0-0. All the SK fans are like, oh, okay, I like how this game is going. And when you're a G2 fan, you're looking at, okay, how's Caps doing? What's he like? Well, sure, he's very ahead in his lane. He's sitting comfortably on the Syndra, but right now he's even on itemization with Zazi. So while Caps does have a lot of gold, you can see that the two big carries for both these teams are currently sitting near the top. So,
here we go.
Very close.
What? Mickey just failed again.
Remember, there's no flash. Remember, there's no flash. Perks is just easily picked off by SK, and Mickey will get the dredge line this time round. The tower falls in favor of SK, and the Feral Scream will slow down the SK advance. But there is the bountiful Harvest.
Wow.
It's a feast. Get eaten alive by Cho'Gath. Instantly in reply, though, Limit with another good death sentence. It ends up being a 2-for-1 in favor of SK, but they get the tower to boot.
It's just crazy, though, because G2 see the play coming in down towards the bot side. Mickey, whose flash has just come up, was sitting on the Hex flash and just face plants into the wall one more time. Check this out. I'm just like, what's going on here? He starts the Hex flash. Boop, bop.
Oh.
You hate to see it. And at this point, now Wonder's going to try to get involved in this fight.
That's a kick W. You have this emote, and you have the emote.
I actually don't hate to see it, because when I see pro players at this level doing that, it makes me feel better about myself.
Look at this silence from Trick, by the way. That's literally what saved his life for a brief period.
Yeah, well.
But then it forces Wonder to commit the flash. So while he does get that kill, he also sentences himself to death, and then really good stopwatch here from Limit as well. So honestly, really well played from SK. I love the TP from Genax as well. I think the execution was very good from SK.
Oh, just as we come out, Perks eats a decimating smash to the face from Genax. Support from Yankos means Genax backs away, and the third dragon of the game will be picked up by SK uncontested. I will concede at this point. that not allowing Vedius access to the kick W tool may have been a mistake on my part, and I apologize
it was the right choice.
to the viewers at home. As Ender, SK Gaming, they're clawing back the lead. They've got 2 Drakes under their belt, and they're looking strong.
And that's great, Trevor, but I just want to talk about Cho'Gath itemization, because this is really interesting what we're seeing from Wonder right now. Yes, exactly. You see a Tiamat. Now, a lot of you are going to be like, why is an AP champion building Tiamat? That's crazy. He doesn't need wave clear. He already has the Sunfire Cape. But this is something we've seen from Sion, because both these champions have insane HP scaling. Users max HP. I think it's 1% for the basic attacks and 3% for the actual bonus itself. And what that means is that Wonder can combo those auto attack resets with his E and that Titanic Hydra passive, and it also deals that bonus max HP damage, which is going to be a lot later on.
I can't wait to see that play out, and I think if Shakarez is watching, the mechanics breakdown of a flawless combo might be super fun.
No, there's no
Yes,
flawless
it will.
combo with Cho'Gath. It's Flash WR.
No, false.
It's Flash Auto, E Auto,
Yes.
1 Auto, or whatever it's bound to.
Now,
Okay,
Ender,
Let's
I
see
was
which one
listening to
happens,
you.
okay?
I was listening to you, Ender. Mr. Day pieced out of the Titanic discussion.
Let's see.
But before we get to any of that, we need to see how it plays out. Obviously, that was picked up by Wonder. Caps has the support of Jankos in this bottom lane. The outer turret is now under threat as the second Rift Herald has just been dropped. And it's important to note, still 1,500 gold advantage here to G2 Esports. Caps 0-0-0 with a 30 CS advantage, hasn't found kills. And now Gen X will get found out, but really I think Gen X is like, yeah, please, I dare you to fight me.
So we're now approaching 20 minutes into the game, second items being worked on pretty much all across the board, and this is where you really start to get worried about Fiddlesticks, because as Ender was saying earlier, the scaling on the champion is so strong, and when you hit level 11, you get that second point in your ultimate, and all of a sudden, the champion becomes so much scarier. Working towards the Zhonya's as well, he's very close to completing that. SK are only getting stronger, and this next Drake fight, I feel, is going to be a very large point in the game where either SK will take firm control, or G2 can look to try and challenge some of the big strengths that SK's comp has.
And just Fiddlesticks existing in the game, when you think about fighting over objectives, changes the way that you have to play the fights. Because for G2, it is ideal to allow SK to go onto the Drake first, because it's so much harder for a jungler Fiddlesticks who needs to be in the pit ready to smite to turn around and get his ultimate off than it is for him to see you 5 in the pit and then hop over wall into you. So G2 are likely going to give up river control around these objectives and then re-engage those fights off of, stuns and whatnot from Mickey and Caps.
I'm going to keep my eyes on there when Trick manages to position himself. Obviously, he needs to be close to the pit, but also, ideally, want to go over the Crow Storm and surprise. He's just picked up the Hourglass. 0-1-3 on that Fiddle. Needlessly large rod was secured by Caps as Limit. He's caught out by that Force of Will and Scatter the Weak, but not enough balls around to really pick up any further kills. Also, by the way, Crown Shot, rapid fire cannon to complement the eye edge. Any SK fans will know that when Crown Shot has kills, they're going to be very happy.
Yes, they are. And that dragon is going to be spawning in a minute's time. So Crown Shot and Trick, these are the 2 players I'm going to be keeping my eyes on in this upcoming fight. And Trev, this is now pretty much the best time and opportunity you have to set the stakes, because we got to remind people, both teams 8 and 7. I believe if either team wins this, they do lock a spot in playoffs.
Yes, they do. You've stolen all my content. What would you like me to do? Curtain is called. Shot 1 connects, 2 connects, 3 finds a target, and the 4th between them. Not going to find Limit. The shockwave in the middle of the lane doesn't do anything. And now SK Gaming are forced to back away. 50 seconds to Dragon. And like Vedius said, the winner of this game guarantees playoffs. They will hold sole control of 3rd for now, with 2 games to play. And remember the stakes and the bigger picture. If you don't make playoffs, you don't make worlds.
And this Dragon could be a big one in 30 seconds, because both teams are going to be able to reset before getting into this one. Now, look at where Wonder is sitting already. The man is going to wait here forever. If anyone walks in, he can threaten a one-shot. Maybe he takes a Gromp camp. No, he's going to wait. He's going to wait. Trust me. He's got the wards, because this is what G2 need. They need to be able to see Trick coming into them. Now that Trick doesn't have flash, his ultimate has to be key. So they let SK into the pit, then they find the pick with the flank.
We get to ask the question, who's the scariest monster, Trevor? Fiddlesticks or Cho'Gath?
Oh, Okay, let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. Wonder.
They knew where he was. They had the vision. They put it down. Here's
He
Wonder.
got stunned. He's locked up in place. Now, what can he do? He's going to be able to flash over the wall. He does.
Oh!
Manages to get the feast. Phineas
Choke
was
at
right.
mechanics.
Phineas was right. It was flash feast. That's all we got. And G2 Esports managed to find the second dragon. They extend their gold lead 2,500.
I object with your call. Venius was not right. He used an E and a Titanic Hydra, and that's why he won.
But you know what? Endo is very right in the Wonder spot. G2 played that beautifully. The flank from Wonder, like, it was all in the planning. They read that play in advance. They knew that SK would come to this objective. And again, like, you can see the vision, what SK can see, right? They have some information. They know that this Syndra's coming from behind. Perhaps they just missed that one out, but then Trick gets caught out, loses all his HP as he gets one shot by Caps. And then here's Wonder from the corner. Gets the knock-up onto Caitlyn. You can see his target is the Kate, but it's Zazie that ends up getting locked up. Gets silenced. Flash, auto.
That's the auto reset.
Consume.
That auto reset did so much damage. That was nuts. Also, I appreciate Trick trying to, pretend like he's a ward. He was a champion, and not for long in that fight.
Got blown up. And exactly as both of you had discussed, ideally G2 wanted to re-engage, right? Give up the river, let SK move in. And they managed to find a flanking position with Wonder. They are now 2,500 hit, as we said, 4 kills to 4, 3 towers to 2. But I wonder how many times they'll be able to pull that surprise, the rabbit out of their hats.
What I think is really interesting is when you look at comps, one of the things to think about is who wants to be on an objective first. And when you're typically playing with a Caitlyn, you want that champion to be there first so that she can lay down her traps, because then it becomes very difficult for your opponents to be able to challenge. But when you also have a Fiddlesticks, it doesn't matter if your opponents are there first, because the Fiddle is so good at reclaiming control or engaging on an objective. But G2 almost lured SK into this false sense of security where it's like, we're going to concede control, we actually don't want you to fight. And then they had this clever flank setup. So I think it's really interesting of like, utilizing comp dynamics and recognizing, hey, they actually have both tools of being first on objective while also attacking on site.
And now we're at a point where everything is wrong for SK in terms of map control, because Caitlyn, she wants to be places well, she's stuck inside her tower, and Fiddlesticks gets picked off.
Oh, I thought he had the damage. The feast was available. Wonder didn't
Oh
close
my
the gap.
God.
But look at that burst coming out. Now going golden for Zazie, buys enough time. Wonder's still holding on to the feast, looking for another target as Mickey is sitting in the back. That's the shockwave finally connecting onto Wonder, but that is a dead Janek. Zombie Scion gonna try to do some work, but he can't close the gap enough. Perks takes one punch to the face, and the inner turret will be focused down. Now, call goes out, but everyone stays outside of the cone of vision, and that means G2 unable to do it, but they get the 4th kill.
But just look at how G2 have exploded the entire game. In the 3 minutes since they took that Infernal Drake, they walk completely inside the enemy jungle, they get the picks, they get the kills. Wonder is just allowed to freely step forward here, and he puts the damage down onto Trick. He's in effectively a 1 versus 5, but the rest of G2 is over the wall. Caps' damage is ridiculous.
crazy.
Even the Luden's proc going over to Trick does an obscene amount.
Wow, and all these stopwatches coming out too. Trick is like, oh, I might get one shot as well. And Zazie's forced to use a stopwatch. Here you can see some of the powerful sustain that Fiddlesticks does have even through an Ignite, but Mickey and Wonder do such a good job of just soaking up all this damage, and the return damage isn't coming out. And I think it's really important to highlight, as Ender was saying, what Caps did there, because if Zazie and Crownshot were free to play that fight without Caps interrupting everything, then that actually could have gone so much better for SK, but because of Caps, that was a one-sided fight for G2.
And indulge me as I nerd out for a moment, but Wonder's Titanic Hydra, that's AoE damage too. So he's able to layer that down in the combination there. He's got a Righteous Glory to target access. It's looking good. And he's stacking a lot of armor right now, but it doesn't really matter because the only one dealing damage is Crownshot.
Yeah, definitely the case. Limit is in trouble. Caught between 4, forced to flash away.
Oh, the
Rupture
interrupts.
knocks up Trick. That means the Crow Storm will not land. Wonder gets flayed backwards. Remember, he's got a lot of damage to deal. He's taken out. SK Gaming managed to get one back on the beefiest member of G2. The ace of He's dead. Goodbye. Unleashed Power comes out. Caps is just sitting there dropping the orbs down, and now 25 seconds to Infernal. Caps is stepping forward. Remember, Mickey's down, so is Wonder. TP is up for Wonder.
Yeah, G2 are just threatening. They're waiting 15 seconds before Wonder can get into the fight. Perks!
Oh, flashes away from the shockwave.
Okay, a little ambitious.
Yeah.
G2 are going to be able to walk SK out of the jungle, and pick of this Drake. I don't think SK want to fight them. Because, I mean, if you rewind back like a full minute to when, you know, Wonder got picked off and ended up falling there, the insanity of G2 was to press forward when Caps was up in the top lane. Just wait till Caps comes around. He's got a Magi. He does stupid damage at the moment with the Void Staff completed as well. So if you just play around him entirely,
Oh, the
he'll carry
TP
the
flying.
fights.
Wonder's gonna kill Zazi.
Chasing. Let's watch.
Oh,
the
it's
damage.
two teleports.
Yeah, that's just
That was
not fair.
unnecessary.
That is just overkill of the umpteenth degree. Third dragon picked up, double TP invested.
Oh, now this Syndra has
Baron
double
now?
Infernal. Like, oh my word. I mean, they could do Baron. It's a little risky
Okay,
against Fiddlesticks. That's the biggest thing that G2 have to be concerned about. Could you, like, Caps has 343 farm at 28 minutes.
And I can't really see the screen. How many stacks is it on Medjai's?
11.
11. This extra cage of yours makes it real difficult to look at screens, gentlemen. I do want to ask a slightly philosophical question as we do have a moment or two.
Philosophical, okay.
All of the discussion we've had around Mad and Rogue and who's going to look good, will G2 win the summer split? Right? We see them coming up. Now, I don't really necessarily want you and Vedius and Ender to chime in. I want to know, chat, do you think G2 will win the summer split? It's been a discussion around many segments. Vote yes or no in chat and we'll take a look as Limit's going to get run down. But for the time being, G2 are looking like they are ramping up. Over the last, let's say, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, they're finding some gears. We've got a unique itemization here from Wonder, and they've got a significant lead right now, Vedius.
Yeah, I think that G2 are playing very well. I think that SK held on to the early game very well. And ultimately, it came down to that one big fight around the Drake, which was executed very well. Now, here
comes up, but it doesn't matter. Look, easy disengage, for relatively speaking, for G2. Caps is on a runner. The rupture comes up. The shockwave actually added some distance, but the rupture on a crown shot, followed up by the sonic wave. Crown shot, he's going to be able to escape with his life for now, as Gen X can buy some time. But Trick goes down, and so does Yankos.
All right, Yankos getting a little amped there, going underneath the tower, because if he lives, G2 can probably turn on the Baron.
Yep.
I mean, they do have a Cho'Gath, so they don't even technically need the Smite if they do want to
That
secure
is
that a little
true.
bit
And what
later
is that,
on.
17 stacks for the 4-0-2
So
Syndra.
17, oh, 17, I was like, there's 17 levels on the Cho'Gath. I just checked, he has 8 total stacks on the champion.
There's
you
two
are
stacking
correct, Quickshot.
mechanics.
17 stacks on the Mejai's. Syndra, wait, what's the technical term? Is Gigafed?
Turbo fed.
Turbo Fed.
Yeah.
How do you determine the
Read a
difference?
different-
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, there's a lot of different, you know, levels, because you can have, like, Omega Poggers, you know, things like this, if you really want to go extreme.
He just made that up.
He did indeed.
That
I mean,
doesn't sound
for sure
don't look
made
at
that
me.
scientific at all.
Vedius looks at me and goes, he made that up, as if I'm going to know. Like, come on. But look, G2, by the way, 2 minutes until the next dragon. Do they just wait for that, look for the soul, and then push in?
Well,
Because it feels like
I
that's the
think
case.
Wonder could do with a reset, and it looks like that Perks is going to do the same. No teleports available, and I think that for now they can look to concede this mid-tier 1 because they don't need to keep it alive. Oh,
They just want to, so SK are trying to push the wave and then look for a dive here. On
but
Caps.
he's, remember, okay, now he's been spotted.
Yeah.
Because I actually do like the play. Like, right now SK have a mini game, and that's delete Mejai stacks before an objective spawns, you know?
Good luck with that one, by the way. Fans at home, pretty split here, 2/3 to a third, saying that G2 will win as now the Death Sentence catches onto Wonder.
Oh,
Mickey
no.
found
Ball
Trick!
comes out. Mickey has found Trick, so Crowstorm cannot be activated without the awareness. A minute and a half to Dragon, so, you know, it's a skirmish, but nothing really comes from it. There's nothing really fun about just right now.
Oh, right now, not many ultimates, if any, were used. Perks did throw his one out, so just a couple of abilities used, a bit of damage, traded back and forth. Right now, it seems that G2 have control over the Baron, but I don't think they want to rush that one anytime soon.
No.
They have a wave top lane that they need to be careful of, and it looks like Caps is actually going to go deal with that right now. Keep the pressure up, force SK to have to deal with these minion waves. I like this. And then it looks like G2 will push out mid. Now, the debate is, like, do they bother keeping investing? Do they bother to keep investing vision towards topside when you know that Inferno Drake is 445?
No, they want to set up the trap. Because remember the last time, it was Wonder go stand in that tri-brush. Look where Wonder is, by the way. He's in the spot again.
No,
he's
but
going to
he's
clear
clearing
away.
the waves.
No
He's gonna
waves
clear
and
away
waves
first.
again.
But he can set that up. Because, right, like SK can't commit multiple members into the bot lane, because then G2 could just move to Baron. So they have to be careful of Wonder on the flank. G2, again, have the deep vision to spot out a Trick ultimate.
That's the fear into the Death Sentence, into Decimating Smash, but now there's nothing for any of the other
Wonder
threat.
found Crowny.
gigantic damage onto Limit. Gen X takes the blast cone, and that's Crown Shot already down. He's blown up by Wonder. A kill for Perks, a kill for Caps. Looking to run down Limit, who throws up the Blitzcrank question mark. And with 3 seconds before the next Infernal Drake, Perks is going to try to kill a Gen X before he escapes. The TP will let it happen, and actually, this is going to be a split focus here. Most of G2 pushing into the base.
G2 are looking for the end here. They could take the Infernal Soul. They could go for Baron. Forget that. G2 want the win right here, right now.
64% of you said you expect G2 to win the summer split. They are on the verge of winning against SK and guaranteeing a playoffs appearance, which means they're one step closer to the
by
finals.
Ludens.
One step closer to Worlds. If you don't make playoffs, you don't make Worlds. The Crow Storm comes in from Tricky, goes golden with the Hourglass. This is buying some time. The Nexus stays alive a few seconds longer. It is not over yet. It's not over until the Fat Nexus dies, and it is staying alive as the ace in the hole will tag.
Why you got a Nexus shame like that?
Wait. Does this mean that G2 lose straight? They might even lose Baron.
I don't think so, because it's still a 4 versus 4 at worst. But they do need to get back to base.
That's what I'm saying.
44 seconds for...
I think G2 could have done Baron, because you know SK are going to sprint down for the Infernal Drake.
I'd like to let you know that the minigame of get stacks off Caps has not succeeded. He's sitting at 25.
It's in fact quite the opposite.
7-0-3, looking for his 17th local victory on the champion. Only 3 defeats to his name.
Wait 3 seconds, let Wonder get the buff.
Well, let's find out if they do. 3, 2, 1. Yeah, they did. I think they should have tried to BM him. Not give it over.
You recommend G2 wait, but you never wait for me to respawn.
I mean, what's the use? You're just gonna die. Like, I've never seen you push a wave. You just press R.
Oh man, this is turning out to be very, very spicy.
Look, they nerfed to Nocturne, Betty. We're not doing it anymore. Like, it's just not working.
It's true. Right, let's have a look at Fiddle here. Laying in wait.
Is this gonna work, Bedius?
No.
No. He's gonna die. He's so dead.
Oh, man! There is going to... That has to be the mechanics. That has to be it. Yikes, indeed, from Trick. Wonder's gonna be pushing onto the Nexus that is exposed as G2 Esports look to close out this game. They will be the 3rd team to guarantee themselves a position in the postseason. And that means for the rest of the
Ground shot! He can quadra kill! He can quadra kill! No, what?
No! That's so toxic! Ground shot could have killed them all!
White people sad!
G2 advance to playoffs. 7 teams remain, 3 spots available. G2 join Mad Lions and Rogue. The seeding is at stake as we have 2 more days of games to play out.
Well, I feel like that it was still a very close game. I liked a lot of what SK did in the early game. It was just, like, it was the classic, it was close until it wasn't, and there was that one fight where suddenly G2 got that gold lead, and then they just kind of snowballed. But I think that if SK had been able to win that fight, it could have gone in exactly the opposite direction. So, very enjoyable game to watch. It's cool to see G2 returning to form after what has been a very difficult season.
I agree. Quickly, key player of the game, @LEC on Twitter, Wonder, Caps, and Perks. Ender, G2 returning to form. Still a few fumbles, I think it's fair to say.
There were certainly some fumbles, but I think what I took away most is G2 still know how to team fight. They know how to set up around the objectives. Watching Wonder on the flank, not just that, but also the vision they did. Like, they ran that set play multiple times, and there was just no way it wasn't going to work out for them.
They're guaranteed.
So actually, like, very few, very poor performances outside of maybe the Origin XL one, which was a little all over the shop.
Yeah,
so I'm pretty happy. I quite like what we're seeing, and we still got 10 games left of the weekend.
The 2 of us agree that your performance on the KEKW machine was awful. After the break, we'll hear from Grabs before Perks joins us in the post.
Give me a weird champ. Just give me a weird champ.
No,
I can nail that one. I can do it.
Use the clown emote, because that's what you are.
It's too late.
wish I could bathe in the moonlight. This is it now, come out of the shadow. Make the walls fall. Memory is headed for disaster. Heart is beating slow. I hear the words, I see the ghost of laughter in the afterglow. And welcome back to the LEC for the last interview of the day. As you can see, I am with Grabs right now. Grabs, G2 finally made playoffs. First, congrats, for sure. Yeah, you Hakunat all your metatas or whatever that means. But I mean, I just want to talk to you about the whole split for G2 here. I mean, tell me about it, because that was a journey for sure. But I mean, going from being the most dominant team to playing like a regular team, I want to say. How was it for you guys with adapting and everything? I know Duffman told me about it last week, but how was it for you?
Yeah, it was a rough split. The circumstances were, of course, not the best for us, and we went from being very confident and saying it doesn't matter how we end up the regular split to being, okay, are we actually that bad? What's going on? But now that we actually had 2 weeks of practice in a row where we actually could read the meta and learn about it and get comfortable on picks, I think it shows that we're just playing way better, because we had many weeks where for some reason or another we didn't practice much, and we go into the weekend and there's a pick or a matchup we didn't play much, and we're like, our matchup that's supposed to be winning is hard losing and we can't play the game out. So I think we're on a good win streak, and we're of course still far away from being on our peak form. But also this was the first game, actually, I think, where we again giggled about mistakes and we tried to go for an end when we shouldn't, and we run it down and we lose the Inferno Soul. So I think we're back basically by ending, yeah.
Well, I mean, you turned the tide. I'm still waiting for you guys to reach your peak form yet. But, I mean, you were telling me about relieving the pressure from the players' shoulders and telling them, okay, it's okay. That was the general sentiment I had from reading from you guys on social media. But how is it internally when you don't want your players to feel too much pressure, but still you guys have to perform and find a way to just find it clicking again, if that makes sense?
I think it was very easy because every week we just communicate openly about how we feel, and there was never a feeling of panic. Of course, it's an unusual situation, and but as I said, every time we lost, is that it was very clear to see why we lost. There was no feeling of, okay, why we're actually losing the games. Are we just that far behind of gameplay? But mostly we're just draft and realizing what picks are good and not. And now that we can actually set up what we think is good, it's way easier. So we never lost confidence, and we even said some weeks ago, even if we enter playoffs with 6th seed, we're going to win playoffs. So and we all truly believe that, and I think that's the important part. We're not just saying it for to hide or to not stress out, but we genuinely believe that we're that strong, and I think we showed it the last 2 years even. So we kind of deserve it as well, to have the benefit of the doubt, and we just went from there. And again, I think we're not the best right now, but we are showing a way better performance than 2 weeks ago.
You know, I think that the openness and trust you guys had when you were performing super well really helped, I think, through this phase. But talking about Europe as a whole, I asked that question many times to teams at the beginning of the split, and they were all telling me, yeah, I don't know, maybe we don't understand the meta quite well, we'll see different results. We're at the end of the split right now, and obviously the standings look way more different than last year and even last split. So talk me through the level in Europe right now and what you make of this mess after 8 weeks.
I think it's so hard to say because the game right now doesn't ask questions in a way that there's no creative way of winning the game. You go Drake, you get Drakes, and you win the game doing that. Sure, you can be a bit better at setting it up. But usually the game ends the same way, right? At some point there's a dragon fight because there's soul, one team wins the fight, goes Baron, gets a Baron, and then ends the game. So I think it's just really hard to compare regions and or even teams because, yeah, a small draft diff can make a difference. One guy has a bad lane performance and is behind and then suddenly doesn't have the impact. So I think mechanically it's hard to say as well. Like Mad Lions is good mechanically, Rogue is good mechanically. overall. But yeah, I just feel like that European teams usually got the advantage by being creative. Teams like us, the Fnatic, and the game right now doesn't ask that and doesn't want that as much. So I think that's where we will have kind of a bit of a struggle. We have to find something special.
Well, we'll see.
Because if we actually have to go straight into team fighting against Chinese teams, it will be a bloodbath.
Bloodbath, yeah, for sure.
Because I think molded in this kind of style. So I hope that at least for Worlds there will be a bit more diversity in how you can approach the game.
I agree. I mean, we'll see how the next patches can change that, and also the fact that you guys played online and the LPL scene offline. I mean, it's a different question. We'll talk about that later. But last question for you. Now we have 3 teams locked in playoffs: you, Mad Lions, and Rogue. Who will be the 3 remaining teams to join you guys?
I mean, SK, they just have the best position right now. I think Axel will beat Fnatic tomorrow. And who's banned Fnatic? Schalke, actually, right? So I think Axel also makes it, and then between Fnatic and Schalke. I mean, Schalke right now looks stronger, but it's also not that easy to still have that win streak, right? I think they're at, 5 win streak or something. So expecting a 7-game win streak is hard. So if they step up, Fnatic makes it. If not, then I think there's a world where Fnatic is not in playoffs.
We'll see about that in the next few days. But Grabs, thank you very much for your insights and this interview. And congrats for making playoffs once again.
Thank you so much.
And we're going to take one quick break and we'll come back in a few minutes with PGL and these guys dancing. And Perks will be here also. See you then.
Shoulders, knees and toes, my bones, your music gets me through the highs and lows. My head, shoulders, knees and toes, my bones, you're keeping me from feeling all alone. I've been praying to 1,000 different stars, to 1,000 different arms, till I found you. I've been chasing by 1,000 different hearts, to 1,000 million hours, now I found you. My nights will never be the same again. I got you running through my veins. I feel it in my head, my shoulders.
Welcome everyone to the LEC post-game lobby. I'm Shox and I'm joined here by Vedius and by Perks. Hello Luca, awesome to see you.
Hey.
Hi.
It's kind of weird.
Is it?
Being like so far away and seeing you guys there. I can't take it serious, but I will try.
Well, I mean, are you saying you took us seriously otherwise? I think that's a lie too, Luca.
No, I did not. Yeah, you're right.
Hey, first up, congratulations for making it to playoffs. Tell me about, I guess,
Nice.
the relief, right, of making it after what was a difficult split so far.
I mean, yeah, it feels pretty good to be locked now. Makes this whole Super Big thing kind of more exciting to watch because we are like relieved of the pressure and we have to see everyone else sweat for their lives now. And that's pretty much it, yeah. I think with Mad winning today, we can't get first seed anymore. So, I guess, I'm not sure if we can make second still or something. I don't know how that works. But basically, I feel like we are like just now in the same spot we're going to be in. No matter if we win next 2 games or not. Or maybe not. So, it's kind of chill, yeah. We don't have much to do right now.
Yeah, I mean, Grabs was saying that you all were thinking it doesn't matter where we end up in playoffs, if we're 6th, if we're 5th, whatever, we're still going to envision winning it. I'm getting the same vibe from you. Is that belief there that no matter if you make it, you're going to win the whole thing?
I do believe so. Yeah, I think we perform better when we are put in an environment which is not changing every single week and there's a new patch all the time and we can just have same meta and prepare for it and for specific of high setting. So I think this whole split has been like just whatever. A lot of like external factors happened, so we never really had like proper practice up until basically this point. We were week 8, week 7. Like now we had like 10 days of practice in a row, and before it was always like cut. So I think that helped us a lot.
Obviously, you bring it up. It's not been an easy split for many, many reasons. There was something that I found quite interesting, is that, you know, you guys have talked a lot about when you're at the top, it's actually sometimes really hard to improve because you can't really see it because you're winning all the time. Has this been a big learning experience, let's say the last couple of 2-3 weeks, for you guys to know that you just really had to improve and change some things up to make it? And has that in the end kind of stimulated you coming into these playoffs?
Yeah, I think it's been a big step for our team to go over a crisis as a team. It is always interesting to see how each individual and as a group we respond to it. So I think we responded really well, and everyone put in the effort. And every time we do so, we do seem to make it happen. And we do talk about our problems a lot, and we do try to solve them, which is something I'm really grateful for because we're playing for so long time already that sometimes it can be like hard to, I guess, be with the same group all the time when there is like no progress in specific areas, but we still manage to make it work. So I'm feeling very satisfied with our state. Yeah.
So I wanted, Luca, to ask you about Caps because it seems like even though G2 has struggled a lot this split, I feel like he has still continued to perform at an extremely high level, and in games that arguably you should have lost, he's been able to perform and actually win you games. So I was curious if you could comment on like Caps' split and what you think about him as a player right now.
I think he's been performing really, really well. Like, of course, he's been performing really well, and we appreciate his performance. I think in the beginning we had a bit of a different thought on the meta, like all of us on the team, and that's why all of us looked a bit worse, and that's why right now when we all know what we want to draft and how we want to play against certain champions, we can perform better, and that's why I also think that's when Caps excels at as well. He's really good at carrying games when he knows what our team wants to do, and so even if we all don't perform at our highest level as individuals, we still know what we want to do as a team, and that's when he can perform well on his own. So, yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm just making a noise. So we're trying to kind of look at why the league is such a mess, but of course it's different for every single team. Now, when we think back to kind of last year's G2 and what has always been a super strength of G2 is kind of, you know, your ability to flex, for instance, in the metas because it was possible or because you made it possible. And I know there's been external circumstances that made it very hard for you guys to practice, but do you think you're going to be able to get back to a point where you're the kind of team that can very quickly decide on these meta changes and bring in the new picks and the new strategies and the different strategies where other teams had not necessarily thought about?
I think it's definitely possible. I think we as a team always try to stay, I guess, ahead of the meta rather than like following the meta. I guess that's also one of the big reasons why we've struggled this split is because we were just following the meta all the time, especially at least in the bot lane. We were just playing what everyone else is playing and not really like knowing myself what is best compared to like last 2 weeks where I feel like when I'm going to know what I want to draft and now I want to play around my champions and what my champion is purpose in the game. So that makes it much easier for us. And regarding like flex picks and strategies, that also comes in with more preparation and more playings against specific opponents. It also like really depends on the meta. We can't like just play crazy champions if the like meta doesn't allow it to. I think right now it's actually not too bad to flex champions and play some vague stuff. So maybe we will see some of that for playoff.
What do you think
But
about?
yeah.
What do you think about the bot lane meta, Perks, and how's your transition back from AD to mid lane to AD been?
I think bot lane meta is for sure much more boring than last year. I think there is way less skill involved than it used to be.
Yeah.
I think now it has been a lot about matchups, like just basically better matchup will win the game. I mean the lane. It felt like that the whole split. For example, first Aphidios. Now after like 5 nerfs in a row, he's a bit more balanced now, so we don't see him every single game anymore. And you can actually play against him. But he was dominating the bot lane for a long time. And was same with Ezreal. I think now it's a bit more variety. You can play different stuff. Even for example, like Jin, which I thought was pretty bad before. I don't think he's so bad right now. Just because you can do some all-ins, or you can maybe push lane and move. So I think there's different ways to approach bot now. So I'm starting to kind of like it, I guess. I was not really too big of a fan when it was like 2 champs only every game, because it really felt bad to play other champs.
Yep.
And we'll see how it moves forward. I still prefer definitely the last year meta. I think with like Xayah, Kai'Sa, Lucian, Ezreal, you could clearly make more plays on lane and after lane as well. And now you're just kind of a role player. You just hit some waves and put some traps, or yeah, like you're not really. I don't feel like AD carry is not really an AD carry role right now. I think it's more of like an AD support role. No matter what you're playing, if you're playing Senna, you are just using utility, right? If you're playing Ezreal, you're playing long range and just like playing for yourself. If you are playing Caitlyn, I think Caitlyn is really fun. So I like to play Kate, and she's I think this like the one that fits me the most right now. Yeah.
I mean, people are loving Kate. She was actually 6-0 today before you beat it. So, like, what's the key to beating her then? Because no other team has done it.
Well, I think you just have to have the better team. I think she's very strong on lane, and that makes her, I guess, noble games. But even if, let's say, today we made some mistakes around bot, like before second Drake, which made the game a bit harder, I think. Like the boys broke their hands a bit, and then we had to give up Drake, so Caitlyn became really strong. I think that's what she excels at, like pushing turrets and getting lane leads. And if she doesn't do that, then she's much weaker. Feels like playing Kate from behind is like much worse than playing, let's say, Xayah or Kai'Sa last year from behind, or even Ezreal, because you just don't have the same impact in the game. But I do feel like teams have not really found the best answers against Kate yet, and I do think I have a bit better grasp on the meta right now than the other botlets, so I like that.
Just be a better team. I mean, that works in a lot of situations, I guess. Let's take a look at the standings, because it's Super Week. 2 days left in LEC Summer regular split, and now we have the Mad Lions locked, Rogue, and G2 Esports. But the rest is still a bit out there. Luca, what's going on? What is your take on why everything is so crazy?
I have no idea. I don't really know, but I'm really enjoying it. Like usually, when we go into week 9 of like any regular season, it's just like, okay, let's just like let's play some troll champs. Maybe win, maybe lose games. It doesn't matter. You cannot play us is already locked. Maybe like one team is not sure, but now like literally anyone can make it, which is just completely insane. I think it must be really hyped to be a LEC fan as well, if you're a fan of any of the teams. So, because me as a player, like I'm actually just excited to just like go tune in and just watch LEC. Like I don't actually know who's gonna win it. So, I don't know. I don't know what to say. I think it's just like it's been a crazy year, and I feel like playing online definitely makes some teams and players perform better. Abedage. More like Faker Dage. Like I don't know what I'm watching when I'm watching Abedage, for example. Like it's Schalke is just the best team in the world right now. So we'll have to see like how that develops when they play online, offline. Offline.
Yeah. Offline. Well, yeah, offline. Yeah, but so what's your take on? So they're not going to be in the studio yet. So this week, can they make playoffs? Do you believe in the SO4 miracle run?
Schalke? Well, I don't know much about the like stats and whatnot. Like, let's say if they lose one game, can they still make it? But looking at them play right now, I feel like they have a really, really good shot at making it. They're playing out of their mind. Like I don't know why. I'm pretty sure they're like the best team in Europe right now.
Wow.
I don't know like why they're playing so good, but they are just like, I think they're just playing without regrets. So that makes them like, let's see how they do if they let's say one win away from playoff and then they have to make it, or if they make playoffs and then they have to perform in playoff. But as of right now, they just look pretty crazy. So I have no idea, dude. Like I don't know what happened. But
If they make playoffs, do you think Gilius deserves MVP?
of the split?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, maybe, yeah. He's been playing so well. Like, I'm actually pretty happy for him. He's been, like, really hard smurfing it up, like, with any champ and, like, any style he showed up. So, I think he will be a very strong candidate for it, yeah, definitely.
Well, we'll see what happens. It all depends on your interpretation of MVP, but he would make a strong case for it. And we'll also see, of course, if the regulars, if OG makes it, which is now super unlikely. They're at 3-point-something% of the scenarios. That's a shocker, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't really know what happened with OG, I guess. I don't think they're a bad team. So, like, they actually, like, we practice against them a lot, and I think they're pretty good. So I don't know what is up with them, right? Yeah, it's a shocker. Yeah.
I mean, I don't really know what's wrong with that. I think OG should have won this game today. I think that everything that OG did meant that they were in a position to close things out, and then one mistake, one slip up, and then all of a sudden it all just kind of collapsed. And now they can still qualify, it's just not in their control anymore, which is why every game still matters. And as Perks was saying, like, you can't just, have a chill game, because literally almost every game until potentially the last day, and even then, like, every single game is super important for every single team.
Yeah. Crazy. Tomorrow is the penultimate day of the regular season. Let's check out what is in store. As said, there's 3 days this week, and tomorrow is the second. Let's see what Schalke is playing. Vitality in the first game of the day. I mean, Grabs was saying, it's really crazy for them to win the next 2 games. But, dude, they've already won 5. They're not going to stop now.
I mean, I think that maybe Perks can speak on this as well. Like, when you're on a winning streak, it feels like that everything just kind of fits. And so I feel like it's difficult for the winning streak to stop, and it's more on the agency of the other team to somehow stop your momentum to dry up. But, like, I'm sure Luca has way more experience in this than I do, so maybe he can better comment.
Vettis doesn't win. So.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, I mean, it's true what you're saying. Like, even right now, we're on a winning streak, and I don't feel like we can lose right now. I feel like we are better than any other team besides Schalke, of course, but we already lost against them, so that's not a shame. So I don't know. I think they can for sure lose because the pressure can get to them. But as I right now, like I don't know why they're so good, so you have to stop asking me about Schalke. Actually, like,
Yeah, we need to. It's a mystery.
It's really confusing.
It's messing us up. It's like what happened? Like what's going on?
I mean, it just feels like, so, in my opinion, as like a lot of pros have been talking about, the meta is just kind of weird, right? In that the game feels a little formulaic, and that a lot of it is revolved around the Drake, but some people seem to thrive on like very specific meta champions, and like Sejuani Camille is a great example of something that Schalke is utilizing a lot that not many other teams are, and it really works for them. And it fits within the meta, it makes sense with how the meta is supposed to be played, and so I think that they just find a lot of success because they can just kind of keep defaulting to a combo that works. And I think that SK is another great example of a team that early on in the split, they found champions that worked, and they just kept doubling down on them. And so teams that like found specific champions or picked the style that they really liked and just stuck to it, I think found consistency and have benefited them. And I just think that Schalke have now just suddenly found that thing that kind of clicks together for them, and they're just going to keep running it until someone figures out how to beat it.
Yeah, and we'll see if that happens. Awesome. Thank you for talking to us, Luca. Congratulations on unlocking playoffs.
Thank you.
Would you mind taking a PGL selfie with us?
Sure.
You don't have to do anything.
You just look into the
stay
camera
where you
and
are.
you smile.
Okay.
One thing, fella.
Technology, bro.
This is so weird.
Yeah.
Wait, are you saying you've not watched PGL? Because this is what happens. Are you ready?
No, I haven't. No. Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. Thank you so much. That's going to be all from us here in Berlin. Be sure to check out Friday Night League. That's kicking off in the LCS later tonight. We'll be back tomorrow for more action in the LEC. See you then. Bye, Luca. Good night.
Thank you, Luca.
Tomorrow. Bye.
Bye. Good night.
You have 3 games to decide your fate. If you win, you make playoffs. If you lose, you go home with nothing. Go home with nothing. Go home with nothing. First, there's only 2,000 HP on that, though. You've got to fight it right now. He goes in. He's stolen it! Vitality, that could be something that secures your spot in playoffs. Disengage this, it's down to 2,000. Pedro, you got to get in there, it's secured. Pedro gets it, he smites it away. Killing spree for Patrick, Troy stepping forward. Now Fabi's going to go down as well, shut down. And this is it, Origin. You had your moments, you had your chances, but Excel slapped the win right out of their hands.
Julius, King of Lee Sin, ascend to godhood and grant me this win.
Very good.
Or does he? It's Hylissang again.
Hylissang thinks he does, but it's a trade of 1-for-1. Glacial Prison's available for Gilius, and he's not even going to need it.
Yes! Yes! I am God! Fear me!
Febiven is caught out once again. Please don't leave me, Ender. I can't do this alone. Kazi kills Febiven. The Rift walk forward. Humanoid's got one. Not going to max it for the counter-strike. That's a double kill.
It's fine. Guys, like, I've done this before a few times.
Here into the death sentence, into decimating smash, but now there's nothing for any of the other three. Gigantic damage onto Limit. Gen X takes the blast code, and that's Crown Shot already down. He's blown up by one death.
He can quadra kill. No one. That's so toxic. Crown Shot could have killed them all.